Jesse Stevens took his third win this season last round under the lights of Barcelona, Catalunya in commanding style, besting Karl Modhoff by over 15 seconds. But Modhoff's consistency has kept him on the top of the championship as we head into Silverstone. Will Stevens finally be able to break Modhoff's lead, or will Modhoff once again prove why he sits atop the leaderboard? We'll find out as we get ready to watch Round 7 of the Precision Racing League GTE Series, sponsored by Simulation MotorSports Affinity. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing eSports Network. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and joining me in the booth is Ocean Puhaka. Our director tonight will be Bossman Joe P, and he's using cameras provided by the great Dougie Beard. Silverstone is one of the most storied tracks in England, and one of the favorites of race fans around the world. To find out a little bit more about this historic track, let's take you down to our track guide.
Welcome to Silverstone. Most famously known for being the first circuit to host a round of Formula One, this place has since become synonymous with British motorsports. Hosting everything from sports cars to touring cars to open wheels and even motorcycles, it's a track that fits a wide variety of vehicles. With 3 different layouts to choose from, you've got a little something for any level of racing. The longest of those layouts boasts 18 turns along 3.19 miles. That comes out to 5.13 kilometers in metrics, so it can take a bit to get around it, even in higher powered machinery. Its main characteristics are the high-speed straights and corners and general lack of elevation change. Its most famous set of turns is most definitely the Maggots-Beckett sequence, in which anything with high downforce finds itself challenged with the rapid changes of direction. However, don't discount the first couple corners in this latest iteration of the track. Abbey and Farm often require a greatly balanced car and some serious bravery if you're side by side. Corners such as Village, Brooklyn, Stowe, and Vale see the majority of overtaking action, but in cars with less horsepower, expect the draft to offer other opportunities. The Hangar Straight is perhaps the most notorious for draft battles to erupt. All in all, this versatile racetrack located just northwest of London provides both history in its roots and action on the tarmac. The huge number of British fans that typically attend events are seldom left wanting.
There you saw a couple of laps around this former airfield circuit. And to tell you a little bit more about this track, Ocean, you've got a couple more details for us.
Yes, I do indeed. So it's 2.6 miles long, 4.2 kilometers for those who do proper units. And I'm sorry, that's the completely wrong information. That's 5.9 kilometers long, which is around 4 miles here and thereabout. It is a very historical circuit, meaning it was built all the way before 1950, and the first ever Formula One Grand Prix was actually hosted here 13th of July 1950. And after that, the track has gone through some changes, but the basic layout remains. It is still an airfield circuit, it is still located in the same place, but it has been renovated a couple of times, and I think, contrary to what is popular belief, the new revision is actually quite a good one. I really like it. It has been the most drastic one so far, but it is a good one, and it should provide some good racing as well.
It definitely should provide some great racing as we're watching qualifying underway right now. Nobody has set a time quite yet, so that gives us a moment to talk about our sponsors. As always, today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation MotorSports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between these two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsports fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at SIMMSA.net. Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. The winner of Division 1 here in the PRL GTE Sportscar Series will get a ButtKicker Gamer 2 or a simulation kit. Also, both drivers of the winning team in the team's championship will get a free t-shirt. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. All right, we also have some championships going on here. So, Ocean, why don't you take us through the Drivers' Championship here?
Well, the Drivers' Championship, it is as interesting as ever. Well, Carmodov, he has been leading all the way throughout the season pretty much, but it is getting closer and closer on the top with Jesse Stevens catching him up round after round. He's sitting on 2 victories on trot. The gap between the top 2 drivers only 2 points. Can they bring another 1-2 out here today? Well, it's gonna be a tight ask from those 2. Stephen Ash, don't forget about him. Driver for Full Send Racing, he's sitting in P number 3, 20 points behind the lead with 155 in total, but should Carr and Jesse get too tight into it in these final couple of rounds, well, Stephen will be right here to pick up the pieces. Ignacio Fredes sitting in P number 4, and Michael M. Ross, our favorite 4GT driver, sitting in position number 5. And as for the team's championship, well, it is not exactly spread out there either, Adam.
No, not at all. I'm sure someone would love to inherit Karl Modov's points because Full Send Racing, with their consistency and their hard drive, being Mac Miller and Stephen Ash, are currently leading by 19 points over Radicals Online, Jesse Stevens' team, along with Jason Hodgson. They're currently leading over Punto CL Racing Blue, who's in 3rd, and they're leading by just a couple of points, so it's actually quite tight between those top 3. Then it's about 20 points back to GTR Ventus Rensport SET, and then we have Oswell, the SRT eSport Blue, who is only 1 point behind GTR Ventus, so very, very close in the team's championship.
Indeed, very close. And as for some race details, this is round number 7 of the championship. We have 10 rounds in total. 7th round will be at Silverstone, and 10 after that we will move on to Mid-Ohio, Sonoma, and Road Atlanta for the season finale. 4 cars here, the GTE class out here on fire. Porsche 911, Ford GTE, the Ferrari 488, and the BMW Mate or M8. The absolute unit will be on fire out here today as well. A 1-hour race, and you'll get a drive-through after 13 incidents, and after 20 incidents, you'll be disqualified. So please try to be at least a little bit careful with the off-tracks, and especially with the car contacts. 65% fuel maximum, so they will have to pit around the 40-minute mark, there or thereabouts, as we go by the information we have gathered from the earlier races. Open setups, you can do anything you want with the car setup, and since this is a top echelon series, there will be no spare cars, so the one car you use, you will have to use that to the end of the race, and you better keep it nice and shining. And I do believe, Adam, there are some other persons we have to mention as well.
Absolutely. As always, we are bringing this race to you on the iRacing eSports Network. And I want to give you guys an opportunity. If you want to start your own racing career, log on to iRacing.com and really just take a chance on iRacing. There's some great deals out there for new drivers, and it's just such a fun thing to do. You can get out on track at Silverstone like these guys this week, actually, in a couple of our series. So it's going to be great to see a couple of you guys join us on iRacing.
Indeed, and you know, perhaps one of these days you can even race against one of us and prove us commentators that we really are too slow to race, hence why we're here.
Yes, it's much like the old adage about teaching. But one thing that we also should mention is the orange zone for the start, which is one of the unique features of the PRL GTE series, and this orange zone is going to be where incidents are subject for steward review, and that orange zone is going to take them all the way from the start-finish line all the way through Love Field here at Silverstone, so that's almost a third of the lap here, and so that's quite a long ways to be battling side by side with the threat of a steward review if you make a mistake.
It is, but I still think, this is going to sound a little bit controversial, but I still think it's too short. for Silverstone, because Silverstone is one of those tracks where the pack is gonna be really tightly, well, packed. Not only to Luffield, but once they come into the old turn number 1, once they come through Cops, a lot of people will be trying to go side by side through Maggots, Begets, and Chapel, all the way to Hangar Straight, so I think it should end after Chapel. Going side by side through those SS is not a good idea on lap 1.
I'm just gonna say make it easy and let's just go for a full lap.
Yeah, could be interesting. Could be interesting.
Alright, so qualifying well underway at this point. The 15-minute qualifying now down to 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Jesse Stevens currently leads our qualifying, with Karl Modov having yet to set a time. He's currently out on track attempting to do that now, so I'd expect to see him closer up towards the top once he sets his time. Karl Modov just now coming out of the final corner. And let's see what his time is, 55.945, and that's going to be good enough for third position, so that's a pretty good starting position to try and battle your championship rival.
And how about Jean-Marc Tremblay? He is one of the key figures in this championship, but hasn't been up top too many times, at least not this season. He's sitting 6th, and according to my timing sheets, he is sitting at exactly the same time than Brandon Wilson in the 5th position. So they are separated by less than 1 millisecond at the moment. So Jean-Marc Tremblay has been doing really well at Silverstone so far. Maybe this is the place he actually likes, and maybe this is some sort of a home track for him. Who knows? But, you know, Jean-Marc Tremblay, a real surprise for me at the timing sheets. Other than that, well, it's great to see Rodrigo Mies back out here after some hardware issues. He's sitting in 8th place. Not quite as fast as we've used to seeing him, but it's still great to see him around. But yeah, the real question of today, the real battle pair, Jesse Stevens and Karl Modov. So far, Jesse is ahead in the qualifying, but this is a 4GD track, Adam. I heavily expect the 4GDs to be really, really strong here out here today, so it's gonna be another uphill struggle for Car. And if Jesse's pace in the last couple of rounds is anything to go by, I think it's gonna be Jesse's to lose this time around. But qualifying is only the qualifying. The race is gonna tell us the full story.
One of our mates on screen, the BMW M8 driven by Rafael Russo, currently in the 9th position. The BMW is a very unique car when it comes to GTE. It's the largest car in the field and also one of the heaviest cars in the field as well. As we're watching Karl Modov come around for his second lap, Karl still in that 3rd position. He has this opportunity to take another position away. It'll be interesting to see whether he can pull it off here. As he comes around the final corner, he gets a little bit loose coming out of the corner, but still 155.395 is good enough for a provisional pole. And Jesse Stevens on his lap around, he just spun out, so he might not have an opportunity to take one more lap here. Let's find out.
Ooh, that's interesting. That's very interesting indeed. So Karl Modov goes straight out to another lap. He didn't do so well on turn number 1 in his next lap, but that was an excellent time for Karl Modov on the board. Honestly, I didn't quite expect that, because he was getting a little bit loose on the last corner, but he was right on the rugged edge too, and taking the pole position, the provisional pole position, by 1.5 tenths. So that's gonna be a real gut punch for Jesse Stevens. Can he improve, or will it be Car starting from pole? And remember, Adam, the pole position, when it's a rolling start, it has all the more effect, because you get to decide when will you start.
So it is currently Porsche, Ford, with Mies being our final Ford, as we saw him on screen briefly. Jesse Stevens, though, coming around the final corner, getting ready to start what will be his final timed lap. This will be his only opportunity to knock Modov off of that top spot. So Stevens is going to have to put everything out there.
Yeah, he will. But if there's anyone who can do that and can put all the time and leave all the time out there on the track, it is Jesse Stevens. This is gonna be an absolute flyer. Let's see how he does. This is going to be very interesting as he comes to the arena section, and then he will come to Brooklands on towards the Great Run, get a good exit out of here, and then put on the throttle. And as we climb up the speeds, almost 250 as they come into the corner, and then a tight braking, surprisingly late for here. It is kind of a double apex corner. You aim very late and then you turn this hard right. you get a feeling that you can never get onto the throttle properly. But here we go, full throttle and the old main straight. Then he heads towards the Cops corner, and after that it will be the perhaps most difficult part of the track. Cops corner followed by Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. Cops corner, very nice, not sliding wide at all, cutting it all nice and tidy. And here, can he keep it under control? Is the car too loose? That's gonna be one of the key questions. Cutting nicely. Then we come to Beckett's. Then Chapel corner, all the way, put the throttle on, and then accelerate onto the hangar straight. Stoke corner, and then just a couple of corners left. We'll have to see this. It's looking very good so far, but can he make it all the way to the end, Adam? It's been a good lap, but will it be enough to beat Karmodov? Oh, I don't know.
It's going to be tough, but Modov has decided to pit, so if Stevens can take it right here, that will be pole position. He clips that sausage curve just a little bit, which pushes him away from the apex coming around Club. So this is going to be a tight lap. Let's find out whether or not he makes it. That is a 1:55.526. It is faster, but not good enough for pole.
Oh no, that's a heartbreak for him. Let's see if we have anyone else coming to the line. Rodrigo Mies putting time on the board. Let's see if he can improve from P number 4. He can! Rodrigo Mies all the way to P number 3, starting in second row. And on the inside of second row, can Eisler, the Iceman, Christian Eisler, can he put a better time on the board? Only sitting 15th at the moment. That's a real disappointment. 156.9 and not improving. So he's starting all the way from the midfield. And that is a surprise. And how about... I don't think Kyle Streikarts even made it to his lap. I'm not too sure. But Kyle Streikarts, Adam, is one of those guys who hasn't even put in a qualifying time yet. Sitting in 23rd at the moment. And he's been very good in this championship.
He's not being listed on his outlap, so this should be a lap that counts for Strikers. Let's find out whether or not this does count. He is car number 7, so it should have started him a little bit further forward on pit lane for qualifying. So here he comes around the final corners. He's looking a little bit unsteady right now and misses the apex just a little bit on the final corner, but he does cross the line. And it's a 2:01, so that was an outlap. Well, no, it wasn't actually. That was a lap that counts, so he does end up in 23rd position, though.
Yeah, and that's not really a fast lap at all. So he just put in a time on the board for the sake of putting a time on the board. But I do believe we have our starting grid for tonight's 7th round of PRL GTE Championship.
Yes, we do. With 30 seconds left in qualifying, let's run down the grid. Karl Modov takes a surprise pole here at a Ford GTE dominated track with Jesse Stevens in 2nd, Rodrigo Mies in 3rd, and Michael Ross in 4th position. All 4 GTEs following that Porsche in the pole. Then we have Brandon Wilson, who comes home in 5th, taking that away on his final lap of qualifying, with Stephen Ash in 6th position. Jean-Marc Tremblay is going to come in 7th for the starting position, with Ted Lowendick in 8th position. Rafael Russo and Sean Romeg are going to round out your top 10 for the starting grid.
Horatio Calquin starting 11th, Christopher Pfeffer alongside him, row number 6, 12th place. Mac Miller 13th, will it be unlucky for him or will it be lucky? We'll have to see throughout the course of the race. Ken Huber 14th. Christian Eisler, the Iceman, has a steep hill to climb, 15th starting place alongside Zach Broderick. Jason Hodgson 17th, Louis Pime Jr. 18th, Jeff Carollo 19th, and Kenny Rodriguez rounding out your top 20. It's Brett Thurman, Sean Duhamel, Kyle Streikarts, and Dave Pearson rounding out the rest of the 24 car field today as they get ready to grid up. And Adam, well, we come close to the crunch time, round number 7 of the championship. 4 races left, including this one. A great championship battle, and what better than the championship rivals starting in P number 1 and P number 2. It's gonna be an all-out fight out there on the track for the championship lead. Oh boy.
P1 and P2 in the championship, or P1 and P2 on the track, and they only have 2 points separating them going into this race. It's going to be a knockdown, drag-it-out fight here for the last couple of races of this championship. All right, Ocean, looking at this race, who is your pick for the win tonight?
Rodrigo Mies.
Oh, you think Mies is going to pull up there and win this thing, eh? Alrighty.
Yeah, he has a lot in his backlog. He's been very fast at the early part of the season. He showed at Sebring he can take it to Jesse Stevens on pace and in terms of battling ability as well. And I think something's gonna happen between Karl Modov and Jesse Stevens out there today. I'm not hoping for it. I just have the thought. And Rodrigo Mies will be right there to pick up the pieces, providing that his hardware stays in one piece out here today, because that's been the issue for him. He would have already won a race had it not been for that. But then again, he's been my favorite all throughout the season, so I want to see Rodrigo take it. How about you, Adam? It's gonna be between Jesse and Carr, but which one is it?
Well, actually, I'm with you that I think Carl and Jesse are going to have it coming together, but I also think that Mies is going to struggle a little bit either with hardware or on track, so I'm actually going to go with Michael Ross in the 4th position. I know it's a little bit of a long shot, but I think that Ross has some good pace, and it'll be very interesting to see how he leads. All right, the Porsche pace car has pulled off. Karl Modov is leading them to the grid. It looks like we're having a little bit of connection issues with Jesse Stevens, so hopefully that gets sorted out before the green flag. But Modov is taking them slowly through the final corner. He's going to wait and wait and wait just a little bit longer to go.
Just one final corner and then they accelerate.
Here we go. Modov waits for the last moment and jumps. Looks like Jesse Stevens was able to look at that as well. Looks like they went on the green flag this time. Remember, we are in that orange zone, so any contact that is made will be reviewed. Jesse Stevens still having a little bit of connection issues right now.
And contact out here on the back as well. No need to go to it, but Ken Huber is around. A couple of other drivers, Jean-Marc Tremblay around as well. But the lead is clean.
And Modov going a little bit wide through the beginning of the first couple of corners there, so that's going to actually end up pushing Jesse Stevens behind him into the clutches of Mies behind him as well. But look at this, Stevens with more of a run here as we go down Wellington. They're going to duck under the bridge. Stevens going to go to the outside. Modov going to cover off the inside as they duck here into Brooklands. It's going to be tight between Stevens and Modov, but Modov's going to have the inside through left field.
Yeah, but it's going to be a nice chance for a better exit for Jesse Stevens. His connection issues really are trouble here out here today. I hope he doesn't drop out completely. Rodrigo Mies sitting right behind them. And the problem for Rodrigo right now is he can't really see where Jesse Stevens is. But that's going to be a real drama. I still don't see Jesse out here on the track. Stephen Ash sitting in 4th place. Here Jesse is back as well. And Michael M. Ross sitting 5th. So a clean start for the leaders. But behind them we had some issues. We go back to those later as the leaders battle. Jesse really close to Carr and not gonna allow him to go anywhere. This is great so far. Usually we've seen Carr really check out and run away with it, or Jesse check out and run away with it, but these two, they are meeting each other out here on the track and side by side of them.
Jesse dives down to the inside here as we go down. Oh, it's going to be very tight as they go through Stowe corner. It's going to be very tight. Now they're going to enter Vale and come up to Club, and it looks like Jesse Stevens has the inside of the corner. Can Karl Modov stay strong on the outside? The blinking Jesse Stevens is going to upset Karl Modov's rhythm just a little bit. That's going to allow Stevens to get by. Stevens now ahead in that Ford GTE. Let's see if that thing can start to pull away as they cross the start-finish line, entering lap 2. Oh, and a wreck behind them.
Oh no, yeah, that's a big one behind them. So that's at least Stephen Ash. Oh, Stephen Ash gets collected. Stephen Ash gets collected real hard after he came back onto the track. So can we please cue a replay of that right away? So Stephen Ash actually lost it. Brandon Wilson hit him when Stephen Ash was really slow on the racing line, and then he just spun around and got absolutely T-boned when he lost it again by actually his teammate, Mac Miller. So that's not fortunate for the team championship leaders.
All right, we're going to go take a look at this replay here. That's Ash pulled over to the side of the road. And here we go taking a look at this. This is just a rough moment for those two teammates. Oh, he gets loose coming around the final corner. And that ends up what collects him. And then he tries to pull back onto track. He tries to avoid going into the racing line, but at that point, his teammate had already taken evasive action. That is really going to hurt that team championship, like you said, Ocean. But as we jump back to the front of the pack, Karl Modov has not let Jesse Stevens go, and Mies still towing onto the back of them with Ross also right in behind. Rafael Russo in the 5th position has dropped off by almost 2 seconds.
Yeah, but Russo has made 2 positions in this lap, in the early portion of this lap. And that's because of the Stephen Ash, Brandon Wilson incident. So that's very good for Rafael Russo. I hope he finds a better race than the last couple have been for him. He has decent pace, and he's also the leading BMW out here today, I believe. Yes, he is Romic behind him, Lowendick behind him, Pfeffer behind him as well. So really tight turn to meet back, but hey, let's focus on the leaders a little bit. We have a great lead battle going on. Jesse had the upper hand on first lap. He was able to take the lead, but taking the lead and holding on to it, well, it's like in boxing. Taking the belt is one thing, holding on to it, it's a complete other thing. And Karmodov, well, he has some devastating hooks. He has a good jab, he likes to use it. He's more of an outboxer, more of a point fighter. Whereas Jesse Stevens, he's an infighter. He's a complete infighter. He can get in your face like Mike Tyson. He can duck and weave, and then he will just uppercut your jaw when you least expect it. So it's gonna be an interesting fight between these two guys with completely different approaches, but very similar speed.
You have to remember that they only have 13 incidents to play with tonight, so the more off tracks you get here, which there are plenty of places to get them around Silverstone, the more dangerous it's going to be. Looks like Jesse Stevens struggling with a little bit more trouble, but look at this battle between Ted Lowendick in the 6th position and Sean Romig behind him in 7th, as well as Christopher Pfeiffer and Horatio Calquin, who are tucked in behind them. This actually goes all the way back through 10th position, so 6th through 10th you could put under a blanket right now.
Yeah, Ventus Rennsport teammates, Ted Lowendick, Sean Romig, really close together. Then you have Pfeffer, then you have Calguin, and then you have Brandon Wilson behind them. So it's a really great battle. And we'll have to see who pulls out of that one. You see the 2 Porsches leading the 2 Fords, and then again a Porsche in the back of the pack there. So I wonder if the teammates are gonna play a little bit of team game here. Will Sean Romig have to concede and play the rear gunner to allow Ted Lowendick to run away, or will he actually battle his teammate and allow Pfeffer to get through? We'll have to see.
We're on board with Brandon Wilson as he is the caboose of this train. He's actually going to dive it down to the inside of Stowe and make contact with Horatio Calquin. That sends him around. Oh, just an unfortunate low percentage move there. Ends up collecting Calquin. He's only lost 2 positions, but that's going to heat up those rear tires. And on a 60-minute race like this, that's going to be rough.
Yeah, that was a little bit late from Brandon Wilson, I'm going to have to say. To be honest, like, he had a chance there. He saw Calquin was gonna break early. He sent it to the inside. He was on the inside already. He was technically alongside, but Calquin, I don't think he was expecting a move at all. And why would he? And there was a slight bit of netcode in the contact, but they were still gonna hit each other. So, you know, Brandon Wilson going into a door that was always going to close, and I'm afraid that's on him, but he made it through that one. He's now behind Sean Romig.
Yeah, that move through Stowe, we've seen it in F1 many times, have the same result, but take a look at this. Jesse Stevens, I would say, starting to pull a little gap on Karl Modov, and with these guys and how good they are, that is a little gap. He's actually doubled the lead since the last time we looked, up to 0.5 of a second, and those percentages are so small between these 2 drivers and how strong they are. Jesse Stevens, very aggressive, while Karl Modov might be setting himself up for a longer run strategy, maybe backing it down just a little bit.
And Calguin is side by side with the number 52, Jeff Carollo. Carollo on the inside, heading into Cops, the old turn number 1. Remember, Calguin got spun around now. He's trying to make his way back round the outside. Can he do it? Can he hold on to it? Oh, he was left enough room, and he still holds on to round the outside into Cops. That's a very difficult one to pull off. Very brave stuff from Calguin, but I don't think he's minding that at all, and he makes it through on the first part of Maggots. Give that man a cheesecake. Give that man an ice cream, and give that man a round of applause. Horatio Calguin climbing his way to 11th place, and now next target, Luis Klein Jr. He is a couple of seconds behind, 5 seconds as a matter of fact, but it's still a long race to go.
A little bit of a look there from Carollo on Calquin through Stowe. Zach Broderick we're on board with right now, also trying to take advantage of this. Is he going to look to the inside of Carollo? No, he is not going. They're going to round the final corners one more time, rounding club corner, coming out onto the front stretch. And look at this, Carollo quite a bit wide there, but Broderick unable to get a run.
Yeah, and you could park a lorry on the gap that was left between Jeff Carollo and the apex of that last corner, but he was still able to penultimate corner, but he was still able to get a good exit. So it just goes to show the good side of that Porsche is very fast out of the slow corners, with the weight more in the rear, as in the typical Porsche fashion. a lot of people will say the Porsche RSR is mid-engined. It's not. It's actually classified rear-engined by Porsche, but the engine is right on top of the rear axle instead of behind it. Zach Broderick is now trying to go through on the inside, not minding the engine placement question, and indeed getting through on the inside. Carollo trying to go for a crossover, nothing doing there. So Carollo losing 2 positions in the space of 2 laps. But look at Calguin, he's running away with this one.
Christian Eisler as well, making it past Kyle Strikers in the background. But I would love us to take a look at what happened through the first couple of corners on the first lap. And see what happened with Huber, as that was Ken Huber really having his own trouble. So
Yeah.
we're going to take a look at this.
Yeah, so as they head onto the first corner, it is always difficult when you head there. And Christian Eisler, who started on the inside, he was going 3 wide into turn number 1 because Mac Miller had a slow start, and then he just slid a little bit wide and hit Ken Huber, who I think he was expecting to be more to the outside, but still Christian Eisler spun him around, and there goes Ken Huber, and he was just, spinning around and waiting for everybody to get back, and then resuming his race, but not in an ideal position.
I believe that was Brett Thurman who was off a little bit up the road as well. And remember that was under the orange zone, so that's going to be reviewed by the stewards. So that's going to be a little bit of an unfortunate event, as we actually have our first pit taker. That is Dave Peterson, who is in pit lane.
Yeah, that's very early for him, and I think that's a little bit too early, actually. In terms of strategy, we are only a little bit more than 10 minutes into this event, meaning that I don't think he's going to make it on fuel. I wonder if he's had some sort of an issue. And in case you're wondering, by the way, what happened to... Oh, yeah.
Sean Romick has gone around. He was being challenged by Brandon Wilson and was actually trying to pursue Christopher Pfeiffer into the corner. He's now back going, but he's now under threat from Luis Payne Jr., who's on the inside now. They're going to be very close, but look at that. Almost a very scary moment there for quite a few drivers.
Yeah, and he just braked a little bit too late into that corner. That is one of the disadvantages of the Porsche. When you brake late, you don't really have traction for the front tires, and then he just spun it around a little bit lazily. And actually ahead of him, Pfeffer had some trouble as well making that corner, but Romick had even more trouble. Half spin, a couple of seconds lost, nothing major though. That could have been so much worse.
Christopher Pfeffer, though, has recovered and is now going to challenge Brandon Wilson, as we're seeing right now, as they go down. What amazing straight, the hanger straight here, as they go through Stowe. Look at that. Brandon Wilson being very aggressive on the corner, whereas Pfeffer slowing it, keeping it back a little bit. And is that due to the new tire model, just trying to keep those tires a little bit cooler for the rest of the race?
Yeah, I think it is. You don't want to really run against the tire too much. The tread doesn't like that at all, so it really wants you to keep the temps consistent, and especially when you had a half a spin or you had to push it earlier on, then you don't really want to push it later on, because otherwise you're gonna be in real trouble. These guys are gonna have to run these tires all the way to the end. And remember, Carmodo, for instance, in Lime Rock Park, he actually blew a tire on the later portions of the race and had to make an extra pit stop because of that. So, I think a lot of drivers have that in mind, and even though Silverstone has more straights to pull them down, I don't think we're gonna see blown tires, but keeping the tires good and keeping it steady is gonna be a real factor throughout the course of this race.
So just an update on the lead. Jesse Stevens has pulled away by 2.2 seconds. So don't be too concerned about Carl Modoff. If he wanted to be up there with Jesse, he probably could be, but Carl Modoff is definitely a different kind of driver. We were talking about that before the race, Ocean, and as he's being challenged by Rodrigo Mies, looks possibly had another incident in the back with Jeff Carollo and Marc Tremblay.
Yeah, let's see about that. Jean-Marc Tremblay, he had a very troublesome start. We'll go to a replay of that one, and not Tremblay. So Tremblay at least wasn't involved in the incident.
No, that was
last lap.
That was Jeff Carollo who ended up going around.
Yeah, Carollo had it going around. I was watching Tremblay and I was like, no, I don't see anything. He had a trouble earlier on. But yeah, Carollo had a spin, and once again, heading onto the very same corner. He was heading onto Brooklands just before Luffield, and once again we see a Porsche spinning heading onto that corner. So it is a difficult one, and as they start to push a little bit more, get a bit more comfortable in the car, Adam, these mistakes are going to happen, and it is the kind of track which there is a very high amount of these medium high speed corners, very technical corners in terms of the entry line, and you're gonna have to be really careful with your braking there, because it's very easy to lose the back end. And as these cars have traction control, it is the GTE rules, no ABS, but these have traction control. Well, it makes these cars very difficult, I would say nigh impossible to save once you spin it around. I've seen a couple of saves, but you have to be really quick.
Absolutely, and these Porsche drivers have been complaining on the recent build that they've been feeling like their cars are unreasonably loose lately, and Tremblay here is now battling Christian Eisler in the Ford GTE in his own Porsche, and so Tremblay definitely going to be dealing with the effects of that as this race continues. Look how far he gets. He actually clips the grass on the exit of the corner, so that's going to be troublesome there.
Yeah, Tremblay trying to make positions. He self-spun on the first corner of the race after his best qualifying of the season. Started 7th, is now sitting in 14th place. We know this man has some pace at Silverstone, but he is also behind another driver who is surprisingly low in the standings. So Jean-Marc Tremblay, Christian Eisler, it is a surprising battle pair. We talk about Jean-Marc Tremblay's pace, but we also have to mention Christian Eisler's pace, the Iceman, usually been up there in the top 5, not today, so he's having some issues. And as a result of that, these guys are fighting for 13th and 14th. And wow, in any other race, it would be a great result for Jean-Marc Tremblay to be sitting right behind Eisler, and he'd be happy, but right now, I think he wants to get past.
Absolutely, both of them want to move their way up the field as they go through Maggots and Beckerts, through Chapel Curve, onto the Hangar Straight. Tremblay just hanging on to the back of Christian Eisler, and like you said, this is a familiar place where he wants to be, and just a place where he probably is going to think to himself, if I could just follow Christian through the field. But if Christian's not going to start moving up the field as quickly as he wants, Tremblay might have to try and make a move. Speaking of moves, up ahead of them, the battle between Zach Broderick and Horatio Calquin is actually quite close for that 11th position.
Calquin went really wide in the penultimate corner. He actually clipped the police curb. We call it the sleeping policeman. You call it a sausage curb, whichever you may prefer. I think we know what you mean. You don't want to hit those. Calquin hit those. Let's see if Jack Broderick can make that his advantage. We saw Calquin being quite fast earlier on. We saw him spinning around, getting spun around in stall corner, and then after that he was on decent pace, but now he's been slowing down just a little bit. Broderick has been getting faster as well. He's put in a 157.0 last 2 times around, whereas Calquin 157.5, so he's been really struggling a little bit on the last lap, and as a result of that, Broderick is looking for those opportunities.
So here they go through Luffield. They're going to go past Woodcote and then into the biggest commitment corner on the circuit, Copse, which is such a hard corner to get right. It just requires so much practice. As we look, Calquin has a decent lead, and Broderick, though, look at how loose he is as he goes through Copse, just getting that BMW just a little bit bent out of shape. As they go through Maggots and Beckerts, we're going to see which car has the advantage here, and that's the wonderful thing about these GTE races. You see which cars have the advantage through different parts of the circuit, and it sure looks like the BMW has the advantage through Maggots and Beckerts and through Chapel Curve.
Yeah, but Broderick is gonna have to look for a crossover or some sort of move. You know, do you know why he can't make a late braking move here?
No, I do not. Oh,
because the BMW has an anti-dive system.
Oh, look at this. Lowendick is around. Ted Lowendick is around from the 8th position.
Wow. From the 6th place, rather. He was 6th place last time by, but not anymore. He comes into the braking on the penultimate corner and just spun around. Yeah. Another one bites the dust, and another Porsche goes around on the braking. So they have been really loose, and I think they're going to have to go with a little bit more forward-facing brake balance at this point. Put the brake balance a little bit forward. Maybe adjust the TC as well, how early it kicks in, even though these spins have been under braking. And of course, then they have to manage their front tires just a little bit more.
Yeah, these drivers these Porsche drivers all struggling with how to make the Porsche fast after the latest updates and putting it on the new tire models. We take a look back at this battle between Cal Quinn and Broderick, and they're still as close as ever.
Yeah, and outside of your screens, no need to go to it, but Brandon Wilson made a little bit of a mistake as well in Brooklands. He ran a little bit wide, and as a result of that, Pfeffer got a lot closer to him, so that's something to keep in mind as well. So a lot of battles happening, but yeah, Broderick and Cal Quinn, that's a good one. That's a really good one that's developing out here today. And still, when you look at these guys, it's only 10 seconds from 6th place to 12th place. So, you know, if they start battling for P number 6, P number 7, and so on, these guys have a good chance to catch up, and we're going to see a really great midfield melee out there today.
Ooh, look at this. We got Cal Quinn looking very good through Mankins and Beckett this time. He's really throwing the car in, but that's going to compromise him a little bit for Chapel Curve, and this might give Broderick the opportunity he needs if he wants to decide to take the risk and put it up the inside to Stowe.
He has the anti-dive system, but yeah, yeah, he can still send it. He can still send it, but he decides not to do that this time around. Cal Quinn has been punted out once in slow corner, and I think he's glad there's not going to be a second time. Broderick, is he going to come through here? No, it's tight braking zone, but he doesn't use it to his advantage. And look at how brave Horatio Cal Quinn is under braking. He's able to brake really late, and he's gonna be compromised on the exit, but as a result of that here, Broderick had to lift just a little bit, so he has no chance going into turn number 1. He's gonna look there, but he has no chance. Next time around, he's gonna have to look to the arena.
Cal Quinn is looking dangerously loose around this track right now. He is having trouble keeping those retards under him, and he even locks up here into the loop here, so they enter into Village. He's still going to have the inside. This is going to be very, very tough as they exit the corner. They're going to go through Farm Curve side by side, and this might give an over-under opportunity for Broderick, but Cal Quinn actually keeps his foot in it and gets a good exit here. So as they come to club, it's going to be really difficult for him to try and pass.
Yeah, Broderick was really too nice there. He did, but slide right on the outside, and Cal Quinn lost it. Cal Quinn lost it, and I think Broderick made it through without too much of a contact. And cue up the replay of that one, I reckon.
This was as close as it gets if Broderick did not make contact. We're gonna ride on board with Broderick as he's behind Cal Quinn, and when Cal Quinn loses the rear end of the car and locks up the brakes, absolutely the right move. But one of those moments where you want to change your fire suit as a driver.
Yeah, you do indeed. That was really, 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 really close. Slight touch, but nothing, nothing too dramatic. So Cal Quinn now lost the position, and look at the Punto guys. We've usually seen the Punto guys up in P5, 6, 7, the Punto train. We talked about it earlier through the season. And Cal Quinn once again taking an off track and actually letting Tristan Eisler through, and they are now sitting in P12 and P13, and Cal Quinn going really slowly down the back straight.
I suppose Cal Quinn maybe coming into the pits now. We're going to see whether he goes in. No, he does not. He decides to stay out, but you're right. He was very slow down the back straight, possibly had a slowdown from the rest of the lap. So, unfortunately, Cal Quinn now back in the 15th position, rather. Or the 14th position, rather. So he's quite a ways back of the lead now. Speaking of the leaders, just an update. Jesse Stevens still has 2 seconds over Karl Modov. Rodrigo Mies, on the other hand, has fallen off of Modov by 1.5 seconds. And then it is another 5.5 seconds back down to Michael Ross. So, and then another 2 seconds back down to Rafael Russo. So this lead pack is all waiting for that pit strategy to come into play.
Indeed, so Karl Modov, he has been a little bit faster last few times around. Nothing spectacular, but a little bit faster than Jesse Stevens, so his tires, could they be coming to life here as we close on to the halfway point of the race? Rodrigo Mies, on the other hand, he's lost a couple of tenths in these last few laps to Karl Modov, and I don't think he can reach back to Karl Modov, not yet at least. So pit strategy as well as tire life, all those things coming to life here. But yeah, Mies was really close, really close, really close, and then Modov just said, you know what, nope, I'm gonna check out at this point in time. I have a leader to catch, I have a championship to win. It's gonna be a great one. Let's see as they come towards the start-finish line once again, just last couple of corners to go, and then we'll get some fresh lap times. Jesse Stevens, what will he put on the board? Is it a sub 56? No, 56.2. Karmodov 56.21. So Karmodov lost 100 of a second there, but look how close it is between the top two. 1.8 seconds, and in the lap times, nothing between them.
And right now we're watching the battle between Kyle Strikers and Ken Huber. Mac Miller and Brett Thurman are not too far behind, and they're trying to catch their way up to Jeff Carollo, who we talked about earlier. Huber to the outside. He's going to try and get that done, but he's actually going to do an over-under here, and Strikers is going to break a little bit early. Maybe try and do an over-under of his own, but unable to do so, as Ken Huber actually has some significant rear-end damage on that Porsche. Kyle Strikers unable to get a good exit, and now might be susceptible of Brett Thurman. Mac Miller actually decided to take to pit road there, so he's one of our first into the pits.
Yeah, he's one of the first guys who takes that option. I think there was one guy a little bit earlier who took to the pit lane as well. But yeah, Kyle Strikers closing up to Ken Huber. Remember, Ken Huber had a lot of damage heading into turn number one. He had that spin there, had a little bit of contact. And ahead of them, actually, Jeff Carollo going a little bit wide in the arena section. And as a result of that, Huber getting just a little bit closer. So good battling for those positions, which are now 15th, 16th, and 17th.
And Zach Broderick has gone around. Zach Broderick has re-lost his position to Horatio Calquin.
Oh no. Yeah, let's see what happened there. So Zach Broderick going into the... Ooh, that's Brooklands. Once again, Brooklands. And BMW just turning in. And yeah, he got a little bit too hard on the brakes there. And just a little bit too late. He wasn't able to make a smooth entry, and he just spun around.
And that was Eisler who snuck by just barely in front of him. Very, very close. We're going to watch on board with him as he tries to navigate the spinning M8 GTE in front of him.
Yeah, that was really close, and not what you want to see when you're Christian Eisler, just seeing a car spin around right in front of you, and that was so close. That was so close. These are the moments when I think, when the racing drivers say they never go to the toilet in the car, as Ted Lowendick is coming into the pit lane outside of your screens. But when drivers say they never go to the toilet in the car, or maybe only, in endurance racing, well, moments like this is when I think they are lying, because, involuntary, perhaps at that point, maybe.
Possibly, as we're continuing to watch a couple of the cars go around. This is Ted Lowendick in the pits. He's our third pitter this race. The first we predict probably won't be able to make it to the end of the race. That was Jason Hodgson. And so our second was Mac Miller, and now Ted Lowendick. So these are the first of our scheduled pit stoppers.
Yep, and P number 7, Sean Romick is trying to get through on Christopher Pfeffer. Nothing doing there, but Pfeffer going a little bit wide. These 4 GTs are really burning their tires at this point in the race. It looks like to me that the Fords are suffering from worse tire wear. It could be a driving style thing too, but Sean Romick climbing closer and closer in the battle for the 7th place.
Yeah, Sean Romick hounding the back of Christopher Pfeiffer as they go through cops here into Maggots and Beckett's, and this is where we've seen that Ford struggle a little bit. Let's see whether or not the Porsche, instead of the BMW, can have a little bit of a better time through Maggots and Beckett's. Looks like not really. The Ford actually having the advantage here. So, yeah, Pfeffer really got a little bit loose there coming through Beckett's, and Chapel Curve ended up losing a little bit of time, but Sean Romick just unable to put the power down through the whole sector. Can't catch him on the hanger straight.
Yeah. And you really remember that, you can remember the advantages of the Porsche and Ford when you look at the Le Mans track. You have Porsche curves, and then you have the Ford chicane. Well, the Porsche is better through the Ford chicane, and the Ford is better through the Porsche curves. That's how I remember it.
And it turns out to be true, having driven both at Le Mans. Wow, Sean Romick getting very loose coming through the final corner. So that's going to put him he's going to drop back a couple of tenths. And Zach Broderick is in, actually, after his moments that he's had on track.
Yeah, they're going to be opting to the pit lane at this point, splitting this strategy, getting half a tank of fuel in, but this is not the fastest way. Remember, when you are in a fuel limited race, when you don't change tires, the fastest way is always to take it all the way to the end, so you get a shorter refueling time, as well as, more important than shorter refueling time, you get to run a couple of laps on the empty fuel tank. So you want to maximize the time that you are on light fuel, and that's why the later you come, the better it will be. And I think both of these leaders will be opting, for example, to come into the pit lane as late as possible. I think I should update lap times. Last time around, Car Modov lost a second, 1 full second to Jesse Stevens. So that's not what he wanted to do at all. So the gap has grown now to 2.7 seconds.
Yeah, and Modov just getting a little bit tight in that Porsche, which is definitely better than loose, as we've been talking about, because it's nearly impossible to catch. But Modov really, his tires are starting to struggle a little bit too, so it's just the Porsche pace just is not really showing right now, whereas that Ford GTE, I mean, even just another 2/10 in this last lap alone.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find out. I'm not seeing anything significant with Car Modov in terms of what happened. So it could be just a couple of mistakes or just a little mistake here and there. Nothing significant, but still a mistake, and 156.7 once again. So Car is really starting to struggle. Jesse Stevens, 56.5. Tires starting to wear despite the fuel tank getting lighter. But I wonder, Rodrigo Mies 56.5 as well. I was about to say, I wonder how can Rodrigo Mies do, but he's struggling a little bit too. So all of these cars getting a little bit slower at this point. The track temp, of course, rising all the time as we get further and further into the morning. Already 24 degrees Celsius.
And Ted Lowendick down the inside of Sean Duhamel as they go through Stowe. That's going to be a very dangerous move, but Duhamel leaving him the room. So as they go down Vale, it's going to be very, very treacherous there for Duhamel. Looks like Duhamel's car really starting to fall away as Ted Lowendick has been saving his stuff and maybe starting to gain a little bit of pace late in this race.
Yeah, Lowendick just came out of the pit lane as well. So he had a pit exit lap there. And Duhamel now lapping over 2-minute lap times. So wow, that's a little bit slower than expected at this point in race. So Lowendick is on a heavier fuel load at this moment, and his tires will be a little bit cooler as a result of being stationary on the pit stop. So right now what he's trying to do is bring the Porsche back to life, bring his car back to good condition, and trying to get used to the fact that he will have no traction on the braking. No, it feels like you have no grip. And it feels like you're actually running on marbles when you come out of the pit lane with old tires and not a full tank of fuel, but half a tank of fuel that they will be putting on at this point in time. So it's something that you will, even these experienced and top-class drivers will have to get used to.
And Christopher Pfeffer getting a slowdown, actually. It looks like he's still trying to serve it now. He's going to go to pit road, and it looks like something else is wrong because he almost missed the pit road entry. So Pfeffer seeming to struggle a little bit. Let's see whether we can get a replay of it.
Oh, he went wide into Cobb's corner. He was just, getting loose on the braking. He turned in a little bit too early and had to save it. He did a really good job, I must say, Christopher Pfeffer. Just keeping the car under control, not overcorrecting it, going a little bit sideways, and then at the last second was able to gather it up, went wide, got a slowdown penalty. But aside from that, he did a really, really, really solid job of not spinning around. So that is the one way you can save a GTE car, but that was a good job.
A couple more drivers into pit lane. Jean-Marc Tremblay is in, as well as Ken Huber. So those two drivers are going to get their fuel topped off so that they can finish the race. As we see Christopher Pfeffer coming out of the pits now, Jean-Marc Tremblay is going to follow him with Ken Huber just hitting his box.
Indeed. So they are opting to the pit lane option at this moment. I don't think we can wait too soon in terms of the leaders or anyone else either. Just a little update on Car Modov. He seems to have gotten his pace back, 56.2 last time around compared to 56.4 for Jesse Stevens, but still 2.8 seconds. So don't hold your breath just yet in terms of a lead battle. But yeah, gonna give a little update on those guys. Neither of them coming to pit lane this time by. Rodrigo Mies not gonna opt for it either. So they are gonna stay on track. And how about Rafael Russo? I have to mention him at this point. Sitting in 5th place, the leading BMW. He's only a couple of seconds behind Michael M. Ross. Actually, 2 seconds behind Michael M. Ross. And Rafael Russo, he's been driving a really solid and really consistent race as the Brazilian driver, and as a result of that, he's heading for a good finish. Now he just has to hold it together and see if he can actually bring the fight to the man driving the matte black Ford GT. And just, Adam, Michael Amros, still the most beautiful livery in the field. Don't ask me.
I would agree with you. Michael Amros driving that Ford GTE with Rafael Russo driving the BMW M8 GTE. That M8 being very difficult to try and look around on this circuit. It tends to get those front tires quite burned up around Silverstone. Whereas Michael Ross looks like he's been pacing himself lately with the leaders, just trying to keep himself a little bit in touch, but he is starting to fall off the back of them, and it looks like he's actually struggling a little bit with a tight GTE. So just a little bit of a different setup going to be going on here between these drivers.
Yep, and Jean-Marc Tremblay, you mentioned earlier, he came into the pit lane. Well, he's back on track, and he's right behind Ted Lowendick, who pitted a little bit earlier as well. So for 14-15, it is getting closer and closer as well, so something to keep at least half an eye on at this point, because they'll be battling for these positions all the way to the end. Neither has pit stops left, and Jean-Marc Tremblay taking the inside line of the braking, but nothing doing there. I wonder if he can get his position, and I wonder if there's any more positions for him to gain. Remember, not all of these drivers have pitted just yet.
Our leaders look like they're going to go around one more time, so Jesse Stevens and Carl Modoff deciding to pass up the pit lane one more time as we continue to watch to see whether or not any of them are going to try an undercut here, which I guess we're going to find out whether it works, as we actually had a pass happen. Zach Broderick ended up passing Sean Duhamel for the 16th position there. Sean Duhamel just a little bit too slow. He hasn't taken his pit stop yet, so that's another one of those factors that we haven't talked about. So as we take a look at this replay, it should be a pretty simple job done by Zach Broderick to get that.
Yeah, nothing too dramatic there. You know, Zach Broderick just really getting to the inside on the braking and just getting the position done. And I think Duhamel actually gave him some room there. Duhamel didn't want to fight that, but Broderick, having done his pit stop, wanted to get through quickly, and he did exactly that. Now the car behind them on the track is actually Stephen Ash. And Stephen Ash is 10 laps behind the lead, but good job for him. Remember that horrific incident where he spun around in the last corner, then he was hit by his teammate Mac Miller? Well, he's back on track. And look at that Porsche, look at the rear end of the Porsche. That wing is all bent out of shape. It looks like my mustache at this point in time. Duhamel gonna come to the pit lane, but still Stephen Ash proving that he is a fighter and he's gonna want to finish this race. Great job.
So Luis Payne Jr. also on pit lane, as well as Jeff Carollo and Kyle Strikers. Luis Payne Jr. going to come out just ahead of Ted Lowendick, so we're going to see whether or not his outlap is better than the consistent laps from Ted and Jean-Marc Tremblay. And look at this, Jean-Marc Tremblay actually going to battle with Ted Lowendick here as they go side by side, coming through Village, and it's going to be very close here as they go through. It's going to be very tight as they go through the corners. Jean-Marc Tremblay trying to do battle with Ted Lowendick. Ted Lowendick driving down the middle of the circuit is going to try and block it off here as they dive into the corner. Jean-Marc Tremblay to the inside. Ted Lowendick's going to give him room and maybe try and cross him up here as they go to club.
Yeah, and a very good job by Jean-Marc Tremblay. He was able to get a better exit onto the straight before Brookland, and then into the club he was able to make it work to the inside, and good pass for Jean-Marc. So he's up to P number 14, and as we saw a couple of drivers heading into the pit lane, it's gonna be the real position is gonna be even higher than that. So Jean-Marc keeping his race solid, keeping it consistent, and despite the spin in turn number 1, gonna be heading for some good points paying positions here. Eisler, Romig in the pit lane, as are our leader, not leaders, but actually Carl Modov is in the pit lane. Rodrigo Mies is gonna get out ahead of Carl Modov.
Carl Modov in the pit lane for quite a while, 24 seconds and counting. This is our longest pit stop aside from those with damage, so Carl Modov might be taking tires here.
No, I don't see the car being up. He went too fast into the pit lane.
Oh no, a penalty for our second place driver, battling with Jess Stevens for the lead, is going to put him in pit lane for a penalty. Carl Modaf is going to drop significant positions. He's still serving that penalty as we speak, dropping down into 9th position as we speak. 10th position now. He's going to lose more than 10 positions here. He's going to come out of the pit lane into 13th.
Yeah, and that was such a drama that it actually broke Adam. I think, Adam, your programming, it needs to be rebooted.
Let's see whether or not that fixed it.
Yes, it did.
And here we go, our leader, Jesse Stevens, into the pit lane.
Yeah, so Jesse Stevens, I wonder if he knows what happened to his channel. He came more consistently into the pit lane, so Carl Modaf trying to be a little bit too eager heading onto the pit lane. He came in a little bit too fast. Jesse Stevens, on the other hand, bidding nice and tidy, and he has all the time in the world. And I wonder how tight will he be on fuel. Here he goes up on the pit lane, and he's gonna hold on to that lead, I do believe, even after he pits. Now his fight is against Rodrigo Mies, with Carl Modaf losing a lot of time.
Yeah, so Mies just now coming through club, and he's going to be exiting the final corner now. And Stevens has a significant gap. It will be well over 5 seconds by the time they sort all of this out. It's going to be closer to 6 seconds, the gap between Jesse Stevens and Rodrigo Mies. So yet another unfortunate moment for Carl Modaf is going to leave him stranded in the midfield with his championship rival Jesse Stevens inheriting the lead.
And that's a very unusual mistake for Carl Modaf. He's usually so good, so consistent. We can trust him never to make mistakes. He's been setting a standard in this series for years and years, for multiple seasons, but Carl Modaf making a mistake into the pit lane, and that's gonna drop him all the way outside of top 10. And I think we should jump now on board with Carl Modaf as he's catching up Ted Lowendick, Jean-Marc Tremblay, Louis Pime Jr. as well. Good battle ahead of them, actually. So Jean-Marc Tremblay looking for an opportunity to get past Louis Pime Jr., but behind them it will be an angry Carl Modaf.
Carl Modaf is definitely going to be angry and going to be trying to get his fangs out here as he tries to regain those positions. And this, we have to keep in mind the points standings. They were only separated by 2 points going into this race, with Modaf leading. If the race were to finish like this, Jesse Stevens would absolutely take the points lead. As we see Tremblay going almost off track a little bit here, as Ted Lowendick is attempting to get up onto the back of Tremblay. They're all chasing Louis Payne Jr., who came in a couple laps before them. Carl Modaf is the latest one to come into pit lane. So all these guys on different strategies, and Jean-Marc Tremblay is hungry for that 10th position.
Yeah, he is, but he's gonna also have to mind the fast Carl Modaf. I wonder which one of these guys are gonna battle Carl and which one of the guys are gonna be, oh, okay, well, you know what, Carl, we know you are fast, let's just get by and resume our battle. Either way, it's not going to be easy for him to pass these guys. Pime Jr. a little bit slower on the exit of Chapel. Let's see if that's going to give opportunity to Jean-Marc Tremblay heading onto the hangar straight. The inside is going to be open, I think. If he chooses to send it here, he does. Let's see if he can make it through. Jean-Marc Tremblay breaking a little bit earlier, as you do on the inside, and well done on the outside by Louis Pime Jr. holding on to it so far. Will Tremblay come through onto the last couple of corners? No, he won't. Louis Pime Jr. with a very good defense, very solid defense. A great display of fortitude for Louis Pime Jr., and as a result of that, he's able to hold on to 9th place.
A very good defense there. Just an update for you. Brandon Wilson also had a speeding penalty entering pit road, so his stop was 59 seconds. So just a lot of trouble here for some of these drivers entering pit road, but this battle for 8th position is feisty. We have 4 drivers under a blanket here, with Horatio Calquin only 3 seconds back. If Carl Modaf doesn't cut his way through this, he's going to lose quite a few points today.
Yeah, he is, but I think he's gonna make it all the way past his back. You know, onto the 8th place, perhaps onto the 7th place when Isler is not too far ahead of him. So, you know, and they're even battling for 5th place, so, you know, it's an uphill struggle for Modaf, but look at him getting a little bit sideways. Ahead of them, Louis Pime Jr. making a mistake, and he's gonna get passed by Tremblay. Is he gonna get passed by Lowendick as well? Yes, he is. Side by side, actually, as they head towards Scots.
You do not want to go side by side through cops, at least not in GTE cars. We've seen it done successfully in F1 cars maybe once or twice over the history of this course. But no, they're going to sort it all out. But Louis Payne Jr. down on pace right now. Karl Modov trying to figure out where he's going to go. Louis Payne Jr. putting himself in the middle of the track. It's going to have to wait until after Maggots and Beckett's. It's going to have to wait for the hangar straight.
Yeah, and he did really well to leave himself a gap to Louis Payne Jr. intentionally, so he's gonna get a better exit off here. That is what he needs. Better exit off the chapel corner onto the hangar straight. Hold on to the draft, Then go to the inside where the guys ahead of you are. And, well, he's losing a little bit of ground in the draft, actually, and he's not gonna be able to break late enough. Louis Payne Jr. still very solid on the outside, but Modov getting a better exit. That is well done by Karl Modov. That is champion style by Modov. Getting past one. Now he has 2 more to go.
Yes, and champion respect from Louis Payne Jr. But Ted Lowendick has not looked in his rearview mirror ever since getting past Louis Payne Jr. trying to catch back up to Tremblay. Karl Modov now on a hunt to try and get into that 8th position. As they dive.
He's like Jaws out there.
He absolutely is. Diving.
You don't want to see him in your mirrors either at this point. Like, I wonder what Lowendick is thinking, Tremblay is thinking. And ahead of him, Eisler has actually made a mistake. Earlier on in this lap, he had half a spin in the arena part, and that's gonna allow Tremblay through. That's gonna allow Lowendick to try as well as Modov. Is Modov gonna send it to the inside? Yes, he will. Opportunist from him. He was thinking about it. Eisler going wide in the meanwhile, and that's gonna allow Modov another position. As Eisler comes back on track behind them, Eisler struggling, Modov on the outside, Lowendick on the inside, Modov gonna make it all the way through around the outside and all the way up to the 7th place. That is good job by Karl Modov. Excuse me, and Pfeffer is around as well. Pfeffer is around that Cops corner. So Christopher Pfeffer making a mistake as well. Tremblay through, Modov through, Louis Payne Jr. through, and Eisler through as well. So the 4 GDs who were battling ahead of them, well, both of them made mistakes this time, and that's gonna allow this back to rise and shine. And all of a sudden, Tremblay is in 6th place, Jean-Marc Tremblay, who started in 7th, who we counted out earlier on. And Karl Modov right behind him.
Karl Modov having an opportunity to regain quite a few positions here, get himself up to that 6th position realistically before this race is over. We only have 15 minutes left to go. 14 minutes rather. It's already 3/4 of a way through this race. We've seen plenty of action here in the PRL GTE series. We are looking at another car driving into the pits. I believe that is that's going to be Christopher Pfeffer who's going to dive into the pits, which I suppose he's just coming in for tires. Maybe he just doesn't believe that he's trying to... Oh, he might have an incident penalty, right? Yes.
Yeah, drive through. Meanwhile, Modov and Tremblay very close to each other as they head onto the arena section into the village corner. Let's see what happens here. Modov gonna get a better exit, a better entry for Tremblay on the other hand. Tremblay going very wide indeed. What happened there? All the way into the wall. Jean-Marc Tremblay.
I think he lost track of where he was on the track, Ocean. It looked like he was trying to state something is wrong with that car, though. He's having trouble getting back on the track. Maybe possibly a mechanical malfunction. Looking on board here as we're going to watch and see how he tackles this corner. He then exits the corner, and I believe he lost track of where he was on the course.
Yeah, that's a tough one for Jean-Marc Tremblay. I don't know if he had a mechanical issue or a hardware issue or something, but Jean-Marc Tremblay losing a lot of ground, that's a weird one. But Modov, either way, is gonna make it through all of the pack. Lowendick, Louis Payne Jr., Christian Eisler, still battling between those guys. But Modov has checked out and he is in 6th place. Now we're gonna watch the lap times between Sean Romick and Karl Modov. You might think, no, it's not possible. 8 seconds between them, but it is Karl Modov we're talking about.
As we continue to watch this battle between Ted Lowendick, Louis Payne Jr., and Christian Eisler, just an update on your leader, Jesse Stevens, out to a 6-second lead up ahead of Rodrigo Mies. He's pulled it out 6.4, so it's stayed about the same actually since they went into pit lane. So really props to Mies for holding that position quite well. Michael M. Ross, on the other hand, has dropped off to about 10.4 seconds off of Mies. And Rafael Russo just has not been able to gain up to the back of them. Oh no, Mies is around!
Oh no! Not Mies, but he is able to gather it, and he's still ahead of Michael M. Ross, just barely. So Rodrigo Mies, another victim of the Brooklands corner. We talked about how difficult it is, we've seen how difficult it is, and Adam, even Rodrigo Mies is able to make a mistake there.
And if immediately after this we could go and take a look at Mac Miller, they just had a 3-wide moment for 15th position as Mies goes off track there. And then Mac Miller back in now 17th, they really had a moment here as they came down to the final corners of this track.
Yeah, he braked a little bit. He was going in later. On the outside, he had Kyle Streichhardt. On the inside, Brandon Wilson later on. And Wilson just, said, you know what, I'm going to be able to brake later than both of these guys. And great job by Brandon Wilson, reading and reacting to the situation. 3 wide going into the penultimate corner. Normally, that would be like, what are you doing? Into the Vale corner, 3 wide. But this time, it was actually a great read and react by him, and as a result of that, Brandon Wilson getting himself 2 positions in the space of 1 corner, and Kyle Streichhardt, Mac Miller still very close to each other.
And this is a close battle that we have between Luis Payne Jr. and Christian Eisler, as Christian really trying to hang on to the back of Luis Payne Jr. Payne Jr. is going to take the middle of the road as he usually does. That's Christian Eisler to the inside. Christian's going to have the inside of Stowe, but look at this. Luis Payne Jr. going to try and hold strong on the outside, going to squeeze Eisler to the inside of that track. That's going to make Eisler lose traction coming through the corner. So Eisler now is going to be stuck on the outside as they go into the final corners. Luis Payne Jr. going to switch back quite quickly, and let's see whether or not Christian Eisler can get a better exit. But look at that. Payne Jr., his defenses today, as he gets a little bit loose on the final corner, his defenses today have been seriously impressive.
Yeah, he's been clean on his defense. That's the most important thing, but he's been solid. He hasn't given anything for free, but he doesn't block, he doesn't do anything dirty. I'm really impressed by Luis Payne Jr., how he's fighting out there today. Christian Eisler, he's gonna see that Payne Jr. has some trouble ahead of him. Eisler has the better car underneath him at this moment. Is it gonna pay dividends? We'll have to wait and see very close as they head on towards the straight Brooklands.
The straight towards Brooklands is very much a great place to pass if you can get a good dive down the inside. Christian Eisler is actually going to think about it, but look at that. Payne Jr. going to dive very deep and almost lose the car. Oh, that was close. And they have a car in front of them. That is Karl Modov.
That is Karl Modov. Oh my dear lord. So not only did Rodrigo Mies fall victim to that corner, but Karl Modov, another victim to Brooklands. He just went around slowly, lazily, and that was the worst kind of spin. He did a good job getting out of the way, but he's gonna have to fight all the way back if he wishes to gain these positions that he just lost. And Adam, the problem is he has less time left. He has already a spin under his belt. What can he do from here?
And what can those rear tires do for him? As we come back taking a look at him, it's just going to be a rough day for him to try and regain those positions.
I can't believe Karl Modov is cracking under pressure, man. I can't believe it.
We're taking a look at Zach Broderick versus Luis Payne Jr. Luis Payne Jr. now up to the back of Broderick. And Christian Eisler actually quite a ways up the field, so Payne Jr. actually had his own mistake that cost him 2 positions, so this is going to be really difficult for Luis Payne Jr. Those Porsches are really starting to show that the rear traction is just not there for them around this mid to high speed track.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed so, but to quote an ancient Chinese wisdom by Quan Chong Peak, ask not what your rear tires can do for you, ask what you can do for your rear tires.
Well, that's something that I always try and keep in mind whenever I get onto a NASCAR circuit with the new tire model, but I suppose the same would be true here of these GTEs as we get further on into the race. We are closing into the last 7.5 minutes. Jesse T. Stevens leads by almost 17 seconds now after Rodrigo Mies' spin, dealing with some traffic, whereas Zach Broderick and Luis Payne Jr. here battling for the 8th position, separated by only 2 tenths.
Indeed so, indeed so. Broderick and Louis Palm Jr. are still fighting. We'll see how good Louis Palm Jr. is on the attack because he doesn't have the pace at this moment in time really to attack. He's been solid on the defense, but now he is clear in terms of challenges from behind because Broderick, once he got past him, he's a little bit faster by the looks of things. Horatio Calvin not close enough to make an attack, and then it's gonna be Car Modo. Poor Car Modo sitting outside top 10 at this moment. And meanwhile, for the 15th place, Mac Miller has got ahead of Jeff Carollo.
Yeah, and that pass we just saw on screen, Mac Miller going to the inside as they dove through the last couple of corners there. And now on to Cops. Look at this, Mac Miller picking up quite a good line. Jeff Carollo, a little bit of a shallow entry. This might give an opportunity to Kyle Strikers, who's tucked in behind them, try and pass Carollo for 16.
Yeah, indeed. Kyle Strikehart's very close and a little bit slower on the first part of Maggots Beckett's, but he's gonna get a good launch of the exit if he times this right. On to the exit of Cops, well, he's not close enough. Carollo, on the other hand, might have a chance back at Mac Miller. Look at Mac Miller, he's just a city duck on the hangar straight. Is Carollo gonna go for it? Yes, he is.
Mac Miller gonna try and power it around the outside, but he's actually gonna end up having the room to cut off Jeff Carollo. That's going to slow up Carollo a little bit, but Kyle Strikers did not get a good turn through Stowe. So as they dive into Club here, it's going to be a challenging moment for Jeff Carollo as he lost a lot of pace there, but Kyle Strikers was unable to find the pace as he dodges the sleeping policeman there on the final corner, and they dive down to Abian Farm Curve for what is now the 28th time. Ooh, very close there from Strikers to Jeff Carollo.
Yeah, Strikeart was just sending it into the corner, and look at how slow Carollo was, and he locked up the brakes on the entry, and that's gonna allow Kyle Strikeart a free pass. Up to 16, can he go to 15? Mac Miller, Kyle Strikeart fighting for 15 minutes. It has been a race of surprises, but Adam, we've seen so many drivers make mistakes out here today. So many drivers fall victim to these tight corners, but there's been one man who hasn't put a wheel wrong in this race. He may have started second, qualifying went to Car Modo, but after that, Jesse Stevens, he has not made a single mistake, and look at him, 16 seconds clear of Rodrigo Mies. This man is on another level.
I can tell he's pacing himself at this point as his connection issue is still persisting. Jesse Stevens, though, has been very calm. He's being very calm right now, just taking his time around these corners. He is not pushing that car. An almost 17-second gap will do that to you as a driver, give you the confidence you need to just drive it around here based upon your pace alone. But Jesse Stevens, as you said, has not put a foot wrong, whereas everyone, it seems like so many people behind him have cracked under pressure.
Yeah, and it's such a difficult track as well. All tires 1 hour, you think 1 hour, well, that's a typical GTE endurance stint, and it is. There are 1 hour stints that these guys do, but you have to do a 1 hour sprint race, and you have to refuel. So that's something that's very difficult to do at Silverstone, as well as the fact that the track temp is getting higher as the race goes on, 26 degrees now. Your tires are wearing out, and the track temp is getting higher constantly. That's a dreadful combination. Meanwhile, Lowendick and Eisler are battling for the 6th place. Can Eisler get himself one more position?
It all depends on whether Ted Lowendick can keep that Porsche underneath him, as he looks to be struggling with corner entry with a little bit of a neutral car here. Christian Eisler with a much stronger, comfortable Ford GTE underneath him as they dive through Cops here. Look at that. Christian Eisler actually going a little bit wide as they enter Maggots and Beckett's. We're going to see whether or not this Porsche can really handle those curves as easily as the GTE. We've seen it not be the case in the past, and look how much Eisler is going to gain under braking. But now Eisler has to set up for the hangar straight better than Lowendick, and he actually does push out a little bit wide. So Ted Lowendick now weaving down the straight to try and break the draft to Eisler. He's going to manage to keep Eisler off of him into Stowe. Eisler looking to the inside, but he just isn't close enough. Oh no! Lowendick with a little bit of a loose snap is going to go to the outside. Christian Eisler now is going to end up on the outside going into the final couple of corners. All he has to do is try and power it around the outside so he can switch over the racing line to be on the inside here as they go through the final corner, but Lowendick looking for the over-under isn't going to be able to get it done. Christian Eisler secures 6th.
Yeah, and that's Lowendick just getting a little bit loose, but did a great job of correcting it, yet not overcorrecting. A little bit snapped loose, and as a result of that, he lost a bit of ground, but it could have been so much worse for Ted Lowendick. Now, does he have anything he can fight Christian Eisler with, or will it be the Iceman who was struggling in qualifying, struggling in terms of pace early on in this race, bring his tire managing ways all the way to 6th? For some good points? That's gonna be something we'll have to wait and see as this race goes on. Update on Modov, he's catching up to the pack of Horacio Calguin. He's gonna be close towards the end, but well, there's not much time left either.
No, there's not. A minute 20 to go as Jesse Stevens comes through Stowe. And Jesse just putting a lap on Sean Duhamel. Don't worry, that is not Rodrigo. He's tucked in behind him. Rodrigo, he's in the Ford. But Jesse Stevens now around the final corner.
Yeah, around the final corner for him. And he has been leading most of this race, and he's been solid throughout the race. Now the only thing that can really stop him, Adam, is that if he underfueled. That's the only thing that at this point can come between Jesse Stevens and the victory here, and I don't think he would make such a mistake.
No, with 3 wins under his belt, I would expect Jesse Stevens would be one to make sure that he puts the right amount of fuel in the car. Jesse Stevens just showing very strong performance today. Looks like Jeff Carollo has come into the pits due to one of the incident penalties, so he's going to unfortunately drop back to the 19th position, but Jesse Stevens now still with a little bit of the connection issues going on is going to come through, and he's going to be ducking through cops one last time around this beautiful circuit for Jesse Stevens here.
Indeed, and let's just keep the camera on him for the last lap. We can go to the battles later, because this man's drive is something I feel like we need to explain a bit. It's been a season of 2 Stevens, which is what I can say. Season of 2 sides. Early on, he made a couple of silly mistakes. He won at Lime Rock Park, but he made a lot of mistakes when battling other drivers. He was a little bit hot-headed in battle, made some errors, but after that, he has come true to his own. Won last 2 races, and he's gonna win this one here at Silverstone as well, Adam. And what a drive. Hats off to Jesse Stevens. Class of the field.
Jesse Stevens coming through the final corner for the final time tonight. He's going to secure this win by dodging that sleeping policeman, and Jesse Stevens takes the win here in the PRL GTE Sportsman Classic here at Silverstone.
Oh, 9th place, Louis Pime Jr. going a little bit wide. Calguin has caught up to him, and Karl Modov is behind him as well as they head on to the Maggots Beckett's Chapel section. They still have Stowe, and they still have Whalen Club left as well. So, Karl Modov, can he get himself 2 positions with the right positioning? Calguin is gonna try to get through to Louis Pime Jr. as they head on to Hanger Straight. Is it gonna be 3 wide going into Stowe? Surely not.
Look at this, Cal Quinn diving down at the inside. Payne Jr. tried to defend as much as he could, but Cal Quinn down the inside. Modov how desperate is Modov is the question. How much is he going to, he might put it 3 wide here as we go into the final corner. Look at this, Cal Quinn's going to block him off. Modov is going to have to go around the outside here of Cal Quinn. Cal Quinn having a little bit of connection issues himself. Modov loses traction a little bit. That's going to lose him the position. And Louis Payne Jr. is going to retain 9th with Horatio Cal Quinn in 10th and Karl Modov in 11th position.
That was such a late block by Calguin, I must say. Oh, I hope that gets looked at by stewards. Mac Miller, Kyle Streichart as well, quite close to each other for 15th, heading on to the last chicane, but nothing doing there for Kyle Streichart unless Miller makes a mistake, and Streichart is gonna have to concede the 15 to Mac Miller. And, you know, aside from that, what a race. And what a race of surprises. And I think we have a lot to chew through after we come back from these commercials.
Absolutely. So we're going to take just a quick commercial break, but don't go anywhere. We will have some interviews and we'll have the official results here shortly after this break. Welcome back to the PRL GTE Sports Car Championship here at Silverstone, sponsored by SimMSA, and what a fantastic race we had on our hands. But the one who walked away with it all was Jesse Stevens, coming home with the win, 16.7 seconds up ahead of Rodrigo Mies, who had a solid day. Just one short spin put him quite a bit out of touch with Stevens. Michael M. Ross, unfortunately, coming home in third position, just unable to catch up with Mies. Then we have Sean Romig. Quiet day. We didn't talk about him very much, coming home in the fifth position. Then Christian Eisler fighting hard with Ted Lowendick in the last couple of laps, coming home in sixth with Ted Lowendick in seventh. Zach Broderick, Louise Payne Jr., and Horatio Calquin. I mean, all of them were battles all the way down the field, but that's going to round out your top 10.
And look at our pole sitter. In P number 1, he started, has many wins throughout the season, but Karmodov having to concede this race and having to concede a lot of points in the championship, finishing 11th. Jean-Marc Tremblay behind him 12th. Ken Huber 13th. Brandon Wilson from 5th to 14th. Not a great race for him either in terms of position. Mac Miller being able to best Kyle Strikehart's body battle in 15th. They're the last two cars to finish on the lead lap. Then Sean Duhamel 1 lap down. 17, Brett Thurman. 18, Jeff Carollo. 19, Jason Hodgson 2 laps down. 20th. Then we go to the list of retired drivers. Christopher Pfeffer, Stephen Nash, Dave Peterson, and Kenny Rodriguez in this race. The 24-car field, of which 16 finished in the lead lap. That's a great percentage. But I believe, Adam, it has been a great race for our winning driver at least, and I think you're going to talk to him and see just how happy he is.
Yes, Jesse Stevens, what a race you had at the front of the field. It was a hard-fought battle to get that lead, but once you had that lead, it looked like you didn't ever look back.
Yeah, no, I didn't get as much practice as I normally do throughout the week, so I wasn't as confident to push as hard as I have in the previous races early on. So what I did do is I pushed pretty hard. It was really sketchy those first 6 or 7 laps to build the gap, and then I kind of backed off to try and match Carl's pace or whatever to give him a nice little carrot to see if maybe he would push a little harder and force a mistake. I don't know what happened to him. He just disappeared. But yeah, at the very end, the car was really kind of like on edge and really hard to drive.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask about that. We actually saw quite a few drivers who struggled with some rear tire grip. How is your setup in with the traction going around the track, especially towards the end there?
Uh, After the pit stops with the extra fuel, the car was really tail happy. I had to increase the traction control a little bit so that I could get the same feel as I did before the pit stop and try to build that rhythm.
Well, take notes, everybody. Upping the traction control is not a sign of weakness. It can be an effective tool to win a race. All right, Jesse, is there anyone you want to thank tonight? We know you've done quite a few of these interviews, but is there anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody at PRL that makes it happen. I know Kenny does a pretty hard job and to organize everything, and Jerome does a pretty good job sending out, keeping everybody informed on stuff. Everybody at Radicals, it's good to have a good group of guys behind you, keeping your morale up, and then all you guys at GSRC for the stream and iRacing for everything.
Absolutely, Jesse. Thanks for talking to us tonight. What a commanding win. Congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you next time at Mid-Ohio.
All right, thanks, guys.
That was Jesse Stevens, our winner, and it looks like we have Ocean talking to Rodrigo Mies, who came in second position.
Yes, the man who drives the fastest Tida in Chile, and the man who has been very consistent throughout this season in terms of the races he's been able to add. And Rodrigo Mies, after some hardware issues, some devastating problems for you earlier on this season, how relieved are you to get this second place?
Hello guys, thanks. Um, yeah, it's actually good for me because the last weeks I had many problems. First, my hard disk died, and my pedals died too the last week, so I had to switch back to G29 pedals. But I made a lot of effort to get this result. So yeah, it's a very good feeling for me and for my team because we had a very bad last week. But this is like a light of hope that we can fight.
Yes, you
So yeah.
can fight indeed, and you have shown that you have the pace. And not only that, but Punto CR Racing Red, yourself and Nicolas Rubilar, you were up there in the standings early on in the season, but now you're all the way down to sixth place. So, in these last three races, Rodrigo, do you think you can get more podiums, even a victory?
Yeah, I think that's possible. I'm training very hard to get on the base with these pedals, and today was the proof that I can do it. But I need to still to have a lot of more training, to get used to the pedals. But I have faith on me and in my teammate Nicolas. Yeah, we are both capable, but we had some very bad luck in the last race. But we are looking for and we have to get the victory, at least one in the season.
Well, let's hope you can still get it, Rodrigo. Miss, thank you very much for the interview. Is there anyone you would like to thank or anyone you would like to send a hello, some greetings to?
Yeah, I want to say thanks to my team, to all the sponsors that we have on the team, and to my family. That my family is always watching me, and and they are there for me, you know.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Thank you, Rodrigo. And a big shout out to all the families who support their sons in racing and support their racing endeavors. Well, that was Rodrigo Mies finishing in second place for Punto CL Racing Red out here today. And Well, Adam, it had been quite a race. It was quite a win for Jesse Stevens, but I believe it's time to close out this podcast with some final notes. Don't go anywhere just yet.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it has been quite a race. It was an amazing race for this PRL GTE series. We want to give a big thank you to the Precision Racing League for bringing us on for another season, and a big thank you to the season's sponsors, the Simulation Motorsports Affinity, or SIMMSA.net, and the ButtKicker, that you can find at thebuttkicker.com. I want to give a big shout out to IESN for hosting us so we can bring this race to you. And we also want to give a big thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. As always, many thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our awesome music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. I know some of you were asking about that earlier in the week, so grab a load of that website down there. Also, a big thanks to today's crew, Joe, Ocean, and Dougie. And if you want to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find us at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you want to see some more racing action, hit that big red subscribe button down there as well so you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Next race for these folks, however, is going to be at Mid-Ohio Sportscar Course. That is Tuesday, May 5th at 8:50 p.m. Eastern, so don't miss a moment of that action. We also have upcoming races for other series that are listed on your screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. We hope you've enjoyed joining us tonight as much as we've enjoyed bringing this race to you, and we hope to see you back on our channel soon. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.